Welcome to The Homeless Conservative. My name is Blake Fisher. Thanks for joining me. You may have heard that the first Republican primary debate happened last night, and I decided to have my wife come on because she, I think, is sort of a typical voter right now in the sense that she probably didn't know most of these people, recognizes maybe some of the names, obviously knows who Donald Trump is, Ron DeSantis, Mike Pence, because she's from Indiana, but really some of the other ones she hadn't heard of, hasn't really heard much from these people. She doesn't follow the news like I do obsessively, which is probably the way to do it, honestly. So she's smart. And I just wanted to get her sort of opinion of maybe what she felt like going into the debate. And then let's talk about the topics that come up during the debate. And then after the debate, what was her opinions on, had they changed? Did she like people more that she hadn't heard of before? Things like that. For the sake of brevity, we recorded this entire thing, which was obviously over 3 hours long. No one wants to listen to a debate for 3 hours. So I've chopped this thing up as quickly as I could. Not perfect editing, but basically we just tried to highlight some of the parts that stood out to us during the debate. This is going to be one, if you're listening to this podcast on a podcast platform, you may want to watch it on either Spotify or YouTube just because those clips of the candidates are on the video, obviously, and you can tell who's talking and whatnot. There are some times where we reference what someone said without the clip of someone saying. Just didn't really want to spend the time, honestly, to go find the clips and put them in here. So my suggestion, maybe before you start listening to this would be, or watching it, would be just go check out the debate highlights. You could probably watch them on any news network and you'll get a condensed 10-minute version of what you need to know compared to the 2-hour-long debate that we had. Some of those are in this podcast. Some of them are not, but you can get an idea of what we thought before, during, and after by listening to this. And hopefully it's helpful. And maybe there are people like my wife, Elyse, who have different opinions. And maybe we'll see polls change. Maybe we won't. We'll see what happens. All right, so here's my conversation with Elyse as we watched the debates. Okay, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Elyse.
Hello.
Can't make fun of her in the comments. I will attack you, just in case you are aware. Okay, so we're going to watch the debate and talk about it as it goes on. We'll see how this works. I figure the first thing to ask you, just the reason I wanted you to do this with me is because I feel like you are a more average Republican primary voter in the sense that you probably have not paid a lot of attention to anything going on in the Republican primary so far, right? Is that fair? I mean,
yeah.
I've talked to you about it some.
Yeah. No, but I'm not keeping up.
Okay. So here's the first question. So there's 8 people on stage tonight. One of them is not Donald Trump. He decided not to come and debate.
I think he's held up.
Because he's a coward. Yeah, I
think he's slightly held up right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna name these names. You tell me if you've heard of them, first of all. Okay. Governor Doug Burnham.
No.
Okay. Chris Christie.
Yes.
Okay. Ron DeSantis.
Yes.
Nikki Haley.
Yes.
Asa Hutchinson.
No.
Mike Pence.
Yes.
Home state, right?
Yes.
And Vivek Ramaswamy.
No.
Probably not. Tim Scott. Only probably because I've talked about him.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, if this was tomorrow, the Republican primary.
Yeah.
Would you have someone in that group that you'd be voting for, or outside of that?
I mean, I'm pretty ignorant to a lot. But
That's
I would
okay.
say Mike Pence, I mean, not just because he's from Indiana, but I think he's done a good job.
Okay.
And I respect his courage and bravery. I don't know if courage is bravery with all the...
In the moment of January 6th, he did the right thing.
January 6th.
Okay.
Yeah. I respect him for that.
Okay. Well, but really, other than that, you don't know much about the rest of these candidates, I'm going to guess, right? So you...
I mean, Ron DeSantis, yes. Okay. And I wouldn't not vote for him. I mean, if he was the nominee, I would vote for Ron DeSantis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I really hate that, everything's about playing to this audience that's going to boo or cheer or something like that.
It's like a game show. Like when we went to late night and they're like, clap.
Yeah, and
that's what it feels disingenuous.
What really bothers me about it is that you've got a crowd that's like reacting to stuff. And what bothers me about it is that if you're like a polite person there, because they probably asked them not to react in between stuff. I'm going to guess it's a little different. But they're going to say, like, hey, please be respectful and don't cheer. So the only people that aren't respectful are going to cheer, which makes it sound like, someone's getting more cheers than other. But it's not.
Isn't that just how everything is these days?
And we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something. To our vision of what it means to be an American today.
But what does that mean?
That'll preach.
But what does that mean?
I like it. I don't know. He's cute and he's fresh.
Actually fix the problem. That's why I'm in this race and we're just getting warmed up.
Just a little while.
All right. Just 2 sips in and you're into Vivek.
You've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt, and Donald Trump added $8 trillion
Okay,
to
Nikki,
our debt.
I like you.
And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024
They can go to
budget,
therapy.
Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Vice President Pence.
Now that is a mom who knows how to get it done.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that is that, like, to say that we can rein it in on earmarks is just not true.
Okay, I'm just giving
It's
you
fine.
first
I'm just
impression.
telling you, yeah.
You blame
So far, I like the new cute guy, and I like the woman.
Okay, I like her.
As vice president,
I had a lot of good things to say about him at the
I
beginning.
had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage.
Ooh, shoot.
And I agree. He's very Obama-like in that he's smooth, but I don't think he has a lot of
Chris
experience.
Christie ain't playing.
Obama too. Give me that
The
bear
same
hug, brother.
type of amateur.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh, Blake, this is so uncomfortable. Why are you making me watch
What I like
this?
to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Yes. I mean, not me.
Yeah, but she was just waiting for that.
Yeah, she was. It's okay. I
It's
like
fine.
it. She
I
can
like
use
it.
it.
Clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their
They're not going to
emissions.
do that, though.
That's what
Yeah.
our problem is.
Like, that's the
And
problem with
gonna
this.
boss them
Is that
around.
China's not going to let us boss them around. They're going to do whatever they want. I'm kind of a person that thinks that we're going to solve that by technology and innovation and stuff like that, especially when it's like clean energy is as easy as making nuclear easier to do because like that's the cheapest, cleanest, doesn't rely on China for batteries or mine. The other thing about batteries is that there's a lot of mining that goes on, which is like detrimental to the earth in other ways, and that is mostly happening in Africa, and China's kind of trying to take over a lot of that stuff because they want to own that part of the thing. If they see everyone's going to have to use batteries, China wants to be the people that can provide those batteries. And so I'm not against
You're talking about batteries in the sense
big
of,
batteries.
Yeah, like electric
for cars.
cars.
Yeah, for like electric cars and stuff like that. And so I like Tim Scott's answer because it makes sense. We've got to do more than just we can't like bully China and India. First of all, India is technically like a developing country still. And so it's not fair, in my opinion, it's not fair to make developing countries do what we didn't do when we were developing. And now that we're rich, we're like, oh, everyone should drive electric cars and not use coal and all this kind of stuff. When that's the cheap form of energy that lets them become not a third world country.
Yeah.
And so I think that we need to be like, but look, we're a rich country. So why don't we try to be as, carbon free as possible? And I don't think that means we don't do fossil fuels and stuff. I'm just saying there's always new technologies that are reducing the amount of CO2 that those things put in the air. And like nuclear is such an easy thing to do. It's just that we've got too many regulations for it. So I like his answer because it is about us. Like we've got to be energy independent or we are relying on our enemies.
Yeah.
And
Okay, now I think I came out too hot with the compliments with the new guy.
that's okay. No, I mean, like, that's the thing is
he-
he's very charming.
He is
He's
charming,
absolutely.
which is why with Obama, I was like, What a guy.
Right, but that's the thing is that there are people that are good at talking, and he's one of them, obviously. I haven't heard a lot from him. Now, some stuff I agree with, but like,
yeah.
To point out,
and it also, but I mean, it is like the like moth to the flame. Is that the expression that people had with Trump? That he wasn't a politician,
right.
That he was different, and all of those things. And I don't know. I think it's too soon after Trump for us to be willy-nilly taking a chance on a new guy, you know?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean,
But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45 pro-life senators in over 100 years. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state laws. Don't make women feel like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation to ban abortion after a baby is capable of experiencing pain.
What does that mean?
Okay.
Pause it. I need you to pause it.
You have to be honest with the American people.
a 15-week limit.
okay.
So the 15.
Let's talk about the abortion stuff.
15-week ban means basically past the point of 15 weeks, you cannot get an abortion.
Right, but I mean, there is no federal law right now for abortion because Roe v. Wade, which was bad law. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. It was bad law. The Supreme Court is not meant to say, here are rights that you just have out of nowhere without laws. They can say that law is unconstitutional and strike it down. They're not supposed to make new laws. But that's essentially what they did, which is why it got struck down, because it's bad law. Even the most liberal law professor would tell you they wouldn't want the current Supreme Court that is full of conservatives or originalists making up laws, because that's not what this court is supposed to do. They're supposed to interpret laws. They can strike down laws, but they're a check on the legislation. They are not the legislation. They're not supposed to make it up, right?
Yes.
So there is no federal law right now, basically. It's just, that's why all these states are coming up with laws and having their own things, because there were some limits and stuff. So anyway, there's all these discussions. Pence is right. It's like a 70% of the country says that, like, we don't think that you should have abortions after 15 weeks. That is the normal thing in Europe. That's like pretty common. They don't allow it after 15 weeks. I think that's incredibly reasonable. Keep in mind, that is like you're finding out the gender at 15 weeks.
We have 3 children.
We have 3 kids. So we've been through this. Like,
yes.
I think,
But we also, on the flip side, I know people who've experienced abortion.
Of course.
I mean.
And I think it's a tragedy all the way around. And I would prefer it to never happen. I would rather it be unthinkable. Like, I want it to be something that people go like, there are better options. But the truth is, adoption does cost too much. It's too hard to adopt people. It's too hard to get, a lot of things that could help with this kind of stuff. I don't know.
And one thing I do disagree about Mike Pence. Well, I personally agree it is a moral issue. And, I'm guided by like my moral beliefs. However, like the government is not in charge of people's morality.
Right. But I think the problem is we're trying to make it be. And so
on both sides.
Yeah,
on a
everywhere.
Liberal side, you can't like they're trying to
You're right.
manipulate and control people's like culture and morals, and it's not the same culture and morals that I agree with, but other people do. So
yeah, and so I think you're right. I think
that's not the government's job.
Now, me personally, I'm on the fence. I could be convinced either way that it should be a federal thing. I am more of a federalist in the sense that I think the things that the Constitution didn't give the federal government the power to do should be the states. And so I think it is more of a state thing.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm saying the federal government does all sorts of stuff that overreaches their constitutional duties and stuff. And
so does Oklahoma have a law?
Yeah. So most red states in the last year or so have passed some sort of ban. A lot of them are at 6 weeks. But I mean, you look at polling.
What's Oklahoma's? Is it 6?
Yeah. So I mean,
oh yeah. Now I vaguely remember uproar on social media.
Right. Yeah. And so to me, the problem with like finding that, I think Nikki Haley's right. The consensus of polling on issue polling's not very accurate most of the time. Honestly, It's just like, it's tricky because it's all about how you ask the question, and it can change depending on literally the wording of the question. But I mean, generally, it does seem like most people are in the like, yeah, we don't like it in after the first trimester is like pretty much common. You know, there are some people that want it all the way up to 40 weeks. That's not most of the country. So I think there is consensus, but she's right. You got to have 60 votes in the Senate to pass a law.
Yeah, she's being practical
the Senate
as
has
far
been,
as like what actually could get done
the Senate has
instead
been,
of an idealistic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the Senate has been split 50, 51, 50, 49, kind of in that area. No Democrat's going to vote for any abortion ban, even a 35-week abortion ban. They probably wouldn't vote for it.
Why?
Because they have to go all the way to that side, and Republicans have gone all the way to the other side. I think that's.
Well, then we're just always in this fight.
That's why
ends.
That's why the states can just do it. I mean, that's kind of why. I just don't think the federal government's really accomplishing much. Okay, back to it. Okay, let's take the opportunity to talk about crime, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think crime's a problem, but you look at. I mean, I think what's weird is that. Like Vivek's answer is pretty good in the sense that like I think there is a morality problem. I just don't think that's the president's job to solve. I do think that can be a top-down kind of mentality, but I don't think that there's a law that he could like.
There's not a morality. I mean, we live in a free country where people can, choose. Right. We're different.
And the truth is, like at a city level. If we decide at a local level that we're going to make, I don't know, pick it, something legal that other states think is weird, or we're going to make something illegal that they think is weird, that's our prerogative as people in a specific state or city when it comes down to that. If cities want to elect a DA that doesn't prosecute crimes, okay. Now, I think that you then live with those consequences. I think we see what happens in Portland right now, and like, they kind of voted all that kind of stuff, or San Francisco. Like Portland is a better example, just because Portland didn't have the like money that San Francisco did to start with. But like everyone's leaving that city, so it's a vicious cycle when you say, okay, we're not going to prosecute these crimes, but then those crimes push out the people that don't want to deal with it, and you end up with this anarchy that is going on. Well, that's up to those people, but the problem is I don't know that the federal government can't come in and be like, hey, you guys have to do things differently here. I don't know where their right is constitutionally to come in and do that. Just like, I mean, the federal government can come in, like FBI could come in if, a local law enforcement was, normally it's the opposite. It would be like if, in the 60s, in the civil rights stuff, federal government would prosecute crimes that the local government would because they were racist.
Right.
But this is the opposite. This is now saying, this is like going, we're not going to prosecute stuff because we think, whatever, all the social justice warrior stuff that's kind of come up on the left of like, oh, if we prosecute any crimes, that's racist. It's like, no, it's not. Not if you consistently prosecute the crimes and the crimes aren't racist themselves.
But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the elephant not in the room.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
I'm going to have lots of uncomfortable
President
feelings.
Trump has been indicted in 4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in Georgia at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Okay, I'll ask later.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. No.
They would still support him?
No.
Okay, Arkansas guy?
Just the two.
So just to be clear, Governor Christie, you were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand?
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this,
and
not
I know
this.
you didn't.
Whoa. No. What's the look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now,
but didn't you, Chris? But didn't you?
Yeah.
Whether or not you believe that the criminal charges are right or wrong, the conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
Yeah, I'm like, why can you even be president? If you've been, like, that's insane. I wouldn't let that person babysit my child.
Yeah.
This is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth.
Yeah, I love it.
Change the truth.
I like it. Seriously, there's that many Trumpers there.
Oh, yeah.
Get in and respond. Let's just speak the truth, okay? President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
I'm done with you. Sorry, Vivek. Sorry, Vivek. Why are you running against him then? Why are you running against him then?
More credible if your entire campaign
He's hoping
were
for
not
a
based on vengeance
VP
and grievance
nomination.
against one man. And if people at home want to see a bunch of people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country, they could just change the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States. We're skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong.
Why are you running against him? You got in this race after he did.
Yeah.
Why? Nikki Haley is the only person on this stage that announced her candidacy before Trump did. I wish, the question I've not heard that I wish we would have heard is, okay, other than Nikki Haley, all of you got into this race after Donald Trump did. Which means you must think that he shouldn't be the president of the United States again, or you wouldn't have ran.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you should be president and not Donald Trump? Like differentiate yourself between Trump. Because that would be the same in any primary. If there's a front runner and you think that they're not, why would you run if in 1984, Ronald Reagan's running again and you think he's a good president? Why would you run?
Yeah, because you're like, he's got it.
He's got it. He's good. If you really like him, why would you run against him?
Will you be asking him for a job or something? How can I help you?
Well, I think that's the...
I think, what's
Vivek?
Vivek.
Yeah,
I think that's what he wants.
Absolutely.
He wants a job.
He wants a job.
He wants to get into politics.
He wants a job. I think the job he wants is not actually in politics. I think he wants the 8 p.m. slot on Fox News is what he really wants.
Oh.
I think
that I could see that. And he'd probably be good at it.
He probably would be, because that's what it takes. That's what cable news is now.
And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense.
Swipe him over.
Putin has said, once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
Nikki.
Let's see what you got, Vivek. She just owned you.
Nikki.
Well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
I'm not on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon. And
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
Okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician.
I like her.
So the reality is,
America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
and you know what?
One last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball.
Right.
Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens.
Yes,
the Chinese are engaging in an act of war against us, killing our citizens. We better make that priority one in our
And he knows what he's talking about.
And that's absolutely correct. I think China is a strategy of theirs. They are lacing things like pills that look like Xanax or Ritalin or Percocet or whatever with fentanyl, and it's killing people.
Eat it up.
Yeah. And so
it's so I think you and I are an older generation where those kind of drugs were starting to get popular. But us and younger,
well, here's the problem.
And I do think we probably ran in crowds that were,
Yeah, we
who weren't doing that. But I did know people who were like, yeah, sell me this, sell me that. I had an actual prescription for Ritalin.
Right.
And people were like, you can make big bucks on that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
No, here's the problem with the drug stuff. The fentanyl thing specifically, there are kind of three things that I think need to happen with that. And Christy hit on a couple of it. One, it is China. You do have to try to stop the flow of that stuff.
They're like laundering money. It's like laundering money through Mexico.
Well,
but
except it's not. It's the fentanyl is what they're.
Well, I'm saying not money, but use it. It's like a laundering. Like,
yeah, and I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know enough of the details here. I bet that China's basically giving it away because fentanyl is basically super cheap to produce, and they probably don't have an interest in making money off it as much as they have an interest in like crippling the United States from the abuse of it. Like I said, it's like 100,000 people died last year of overdoses of some sort.
So crazy.
So we've got a drug problem for sure, but a lot of that was fentanyl.
It's huge.
Some of that is addicts that like move from opioids to heroin to fentanyl, and that's one thing. But then there are other people that literally, I'm studying for a test, I get on Instagram, I buy a Ritalin from a drug dealer and take it, and it's got fentanyl, and
I die.
And you're dead.
Yeah.
That is obviously not aimed at. Some people say there's a supply and demand problem with the drug situation, and that there are people that want to do drugs, and therefore they will get drugs one way or another. I think that's true to some degree. However, a 14-year-old kid trying to buy a Ritalin, which I mean is unwise for sure, and we should definitely educate people.
Yeah, but
that is not. If you're lacing Ritalin with fentanyl, the only reason you do that is to try to kill people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And traditionally, the cartel is not interested in killing drug addicts because that's their customer base. So in general, you don't want your customer base to die. At least that would make sense to me. But I think it is in China's interest to kill Americans. And so it's tricky. I don't think there's a silver bullet for solving the fentanyl crisis, but I mean, I definitely think you do have to try to secure the border where it's coming from, and it is mostly coming via Mexico. And China before that. So I think those are important things to do, but I don't think we can send the military into Mexico and start taking out, because there's a sovereignty issue there. Okay, so post first primary debate, who impressed you?
Nikki Haley.
Anyone else? Vivek at first, maybe.
Okay. What's his name?
Vivek Ramaswamy. Someone say Vivek. I don't know. I need to hear him say it.
Okay.
Ramaswamy. I don't know.
He came out strong.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't. Oh, I'm sad that we missed Tim Scott's.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it later.
At the end.
Yeah.
Okay. But he came out strong, but after that, I don't know. I'm not convinced about him. He's a little bit too much talking puppet.
Well, no, it just seems like it's all very it's like a bunch of like, oh, that makes me feel something, but like give me the practical.
Yes.
Like I said,
so that's the thing I like about Nikki Haley is that she's like, here's what I do, here's what I would do, and here's what I know, and here's my experience.
Yeah.
And especially like on foreign stuff, like she's extremely smart and she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize, I learned a lot. I mean, again, I'm very ignorant when it comes to this kind of stuff.
But that's okay. You are a lot of voters.
Her husband's a still active duty. And I mean, what? They have to be, into their 50s, right?
Yeah, I wonder what that would. I wonder if he could still be in the military if she was the president and technically his boss.
I know. That's what I was wondering. I was like,
I'm sure that's possible.
Wow. But I mean,
it is interesting.
If you were that age and are still being like deployed, and you were like,
that's career military.
That's a career military. You have a deep sense of service and selflessness, and that's very commendable. And then to be the wife that she is, and then she was a governor. I mean, like they both have, like, I would say like their family unit seems like very like service driven.
Well, and it's becoming less and less common too.
Yeah, like you don't see that at all. It's all, our culture is like me.
I mean, I might be wrong about this. I think DeSantis is the only person on that stage that served in the military. I might be wrong about that. But
Pence didn't?
I don't think so. Keep in mind, there's sort of an age thing going on there too. I don't think that he probably did because he's younger what war would he have been in? You know what I mean? Like,
you could still serve in the military when there's
right,
not a war.
but I mean, there was a lull in that. I mean, it's like that got built up after 2001, after 9/11 and stuff. So
that's true. But I did like Chris Christie. I liked things that he had to say. I like that he didn't seem like that rehearsed, like.
Yeah, I think he's good at debates generally because he was a prosecutor. I mean, like that's.
He was very like, it just felt like natural, off the cuff, but like composed.
Yeah.
But like, like I know what I'm talking about. I'm smart. I don't know if he has a chance at all. I don't think he does, but.
Yeah, I mean, to me.
And then I really did like Tim Scott. I wish I would have been able to
see his last thing or whatever.
Well,
just
and maybe hear more from him because I do think he's not gonna. I mean, Vivek got so much screen time and like talking points because he just kept going in there, and someone like Tim is not gonna do that,
right? And that's what I hate.
Which you don't need in a president. Like, I mean, obviously that has been, I mean, Trump, that is what he would do. But
right. So he's all bluster and that's fine.
Yes. But that's not how every president has been.
But that's why I don't want him in this. Vivek being in this race to me is a problem because he is not serious, in my opinion. I think that he's pretty obviously, like I said, trying to get a cable news hosting job or maybe a cabinet position or something like that. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's just not very serious to get up there on stage and say Donald Trump was the best president we've ever had.
So ridiculous.
But I'm running against him. Okay, well then it can only be one or the other.
Yeah.
Like to me, it's either that he should be the president again because you sound like his PR guy is what you sound like. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's just all very wishful thinking. It's like, yeah, it'd be great if Putin and Russia had not invaded a sovereign country, but it happened. So we got to deal with it now. And we can't just pretend that it's not a problem that could potentially impact the world in all sorts of ways. I agree with, Pence mentioning that it's like, look, who's looking at that right now? China. Because they want to invade Taiwan. And if we just roll over for Ukraine, they're going to be like, well, that's what they'll do for Taiwan too. And now we'll have two different superpowers invading countries and stuff. So
Taiwan is a sovereign country.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very, China doesn't think so. China thinks Taiwan is its
theirs.
Property. It's super complicated,
and why
obviously.
would they want to, again, forgive my ignorance, why would they want to invade Taiwan?
Some of it is, I mean, honestly, there's some practical matters of most of the semiconductors, like computer chips and things like that, are being built in Taiwan. They would want to take that over so they can control the chips that get put in everything now, which is why the United States is trying to get to where they're a little bit more independent on that.
Is Nikki Haley going to be on
I don't know.
Hannity?
We'll see. Stop looking at the TV because we're not talking about the TV anymore. Okay?
It's on.
I know. I need you to ignore it. Pretend it's not there.
I can't help it.
So, anyway, China. I mean, we could talk about China for a long time. There's a lot of different factors there and stuff, but. The fact is they would like to invade Taiwan, but and we might be the only thing stopping that from happening because so far we've claimed that we would back them kind of thing, but it's kind of it's a situation. They're not NATO. It's not like we have to.
Yeah.
It's like, they and Israel and some other people are like people we help and we give money to and training and military support to defend their own borders, but in hopes that we don't have to do it with our own troops at some point. Because, whether it's Iran attacking Israel or China attacking Taiwan or invading Taiwan or Russia invading Ukraine or then other countries, because, I mean, Putin wants to create the USSR again. He wants to create the Soviet Union. Like, he wants those countries that are no longer part of Soviet Russia to be back to be part of Soviet Russia. I mean, he stated that that's his goals. So I think it's very naive for Vivek to come in and be like, we should just stay out of it.
Yeah.
And to pretend that the $70 billion, I'm not saying that's not a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It is 3% of the military budget, just our Department of Defense budget.
Sure.
That is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, which is like, by the way, that's not even, I don't think, it's not even 1% of the total budget. I mean, when you get in Social Security and Medicare and all that kind of stuff, you know. So we can do both at the same time. I think that Ukraine's kind of become a silly thing on the right of like people, you know, it's basically because Trump likes Putin. That's really what it boils down to. And there's some weird stuff with the Russia collusion stuff.
So let me like make sure I'm understanding.
The
right basically is like stay out of it.
Trump's people specifically.
Trump's not the right. Okay.
So some in the right.
Trump's so someone who like loves Trump is like going to be like, stay out of it, keep our money at home. They're going to be like, so I'm thinking like the way I know about
that's the
things
argument
going on is like through memes on the internet.
We should probably fix that.
Yeah, probably. And it's like, keep our money at home, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I think people need to understand that like we've spent $40 billion in Ukraine. And that, by the way, is just money and bullets and bombs and things like that. It's not people, other than we give some intelligence and things like that. But
sure.
So $40 billion, I know that sounds like a ton of money because it is to normal people.
Right.
Right. $40 billion.
That's not like an income for people.
No, that's like some FU money for sure if you had that personally. For the United States government, though, we're $32 trillion in debt. There are 1,000 billions in a trillion, and there are 1,000 millions in a billion.
So many maths.
Okay, so $40 billion is not even like, it's just nothing compared to the $32 trillion that we're in debt of money we've spent that we don't have on things like Social Security and Medicare and all these things that are entitlements, and they take up, you know, the bulk of the United States budget, like 80% of it or whatever, is that. And that's the kind of things that we have to fix things. And no Republican on that stage said that. That's what really bothers me. Not really no one. I guess technically who said something? Asa, someone said something. Someone said it that like, hey, we got to talk about Social Security and stuff. They didn't really say Social Security. They just said like.
No, I think Asa did say something. Asa might have said like something.
That. But the point is that like.
Such a weird name for such an old guy.
I'm glad that's all you came away with.
That's all I came. No, I like him though.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing. So like.
And I like that he said he wasn't like, he's like, I'm not going to sit here and raise my hand about Trump.
Right.
Like he's like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, if he's convicted and if I feel like he's gone against the 14th Amendment and also like he's disqualified, like because of the rules. No, I'm not going to support him. No, I'm not going to support him. I'm not going to like, no. I respect that about him because all those other people are like, right.
You know? Here's what's weird. Everyone's trying to appease the hardcore Trump people.
Yes.
What is foolish about that is that they are never going to leave Donald Trump for any reason at this point. And so
they're in an abusive, toxic marriage.
You're right.
They need to get out.
You're not wrong about that analogy. I mean, that's a pretty good analogy.
They really are. I'm like, he's not treating you good, okay?
No, and so here's the problem.
Not just not treating you good. Like, he's beating you.
Yeah, basically. And definitely.
And cheating on you.
Anyway, you're not going to get those people.
Yes.
Like, it's just not possible. And that is basically, if you look at the polls, it's like 25. It's like less than 25. It's probably 20% of the Republican, like, likely primary voters. Okay. Yeah. It's like 25%. There's another like 20% that is like, yeah, right now I say Trump's my guy, but I'm open to other things if something comes up. A lot of that is based on the indictments. People kind of feel like, oh, well, Biden's DOJ is attacking him, so we've got to defend him, which I think is asinine. It's a silly thing to do. I do think the Department of Justice have done some really bad things. I don't think the Trump stuff specifically are the problems. I think the DOJ's bigger problems have been the Trump-Russia investigation that happened while he's president. The Hunter Biden stuff has been kind of an absolute kind of eye-opening disaster of there's clearly there's some bias there. I mean, there's no way to explain it other than that. And there's some really bad actors in the FBI when Trump was president. They've been fired, but they've gone on to have like jobs on MSNBC and stuff like that. So it's not like they fell from grace too far. Like they're still employed. I think that the things they did where they're texting, we've got to prevent this guy from being president, is absolutely, like, we should say that's absolutely not allowed at the FBI, at the high ranks of the FBI, to say, like, we're not going to let this guy become president. That's not okay. That's not your job. It's not your job. So,
and that's not in your power control.
But here's the thing.
Unless outside of your vote.
Except for your vote and criminal activity at the federal level.
Yes.
I think that it's as clear cut a case as could possibly be on the document stuff. Trump had classified documents at Mar-a-Lago that he was not supposed to have. He's on tape saying they're not that they're still classified, that he didn't declassify them, and he's showing them to people. And then there's all this cover-up stuff too, where he tried to have people hide the documents, and they went back and forth for a year. The government was trying to get the documents back. He would not give them back. He lied about what they had. He had attorneys lie for him. They signed affidavits that said, yes, we searched, because they hid the stuff from the attorneys. It's as clear-cut a case as he did something illegal. And if anyone other than Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or someone at the high level of government.
Didn't Hillary do all of this?
She did, and we should have prosecuted her for it. And it was a mistake that we didn't.
It's like, okay, we'll let her go. So now look at this big mess that we have now with Trump.
But if your sister, who is in the Navy, did the same thing that any of these people did, she'd be in jail for a long time. If she had top secret clearance and took documents to her personal house and the government tried to get them back and she said no, they would come in with guns and they would arrest her and they'd put her in jail.
For a long time.
For a long time. That's the simple truth. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It should not matter.
She's not going to do that.
But here's the point. That's as clear-cut a case as possible. If they didn't bring charges, like I said, they should have brought him against Hillary. I'm not disputing that. I think Hillary Clinton, what she did was wrong too, and she should have been prosecuted for it. But, we can't change that now.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
You can't go in the past.
And the Georgia thing, I think, is pretty legitimate too. Some of the stuff is a little bit hard to follow because it's RICO, which is like typically reserved for like mob usage and stuff. But like Trump and these people tried to steal the election. They knew they lost. They didn't want to leave. They tried to cook up a scheme to steal the election. That's what actually happened. I'm all for the charges. I think it's treasonous. I think it was terrible what Trump did. So here's the problem.
January 6th, I'm like,
he is the tinder of that fire.
Yes. And it was the pinnacle of how weak and just like amateur hour America looked. And it's all amidst coming off of 2020, COVID. It's just so many things. I'm like, it's just like the perfect, like,
it was a bad year.
Hellstorm of everything. And I'm like, and then on top of that happens in the beginning of 2021. And it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And
so the problem is that
I don't understand people who are still like, yeah, it's great. Let's elect him again.
My point is, I think there are a lot of convincible people in that not 25% of the. So there's 75% of the Republican base that I think is gettable. About half of them definitely don't like Trump. Okay. So to me, those people, if just most of these people get out of the race, are going to coalesce around that person that's left. I think that will kind of sort itself out because I don't think Trump will win Iowa, which is where the first primary is, and then it's New Hampshire, and then we get to Super Tuesday and stuff, and it gets the ball's rolling a little bit more. Here's the thing. Trump's not really campaigning much. He's only been to these early primary states 17 times, and someone like, everyone else on this stage tonight had been there, dozens and dozens and dozens of times. He basically flew his private jet to the Iowa Fair, was there for 50 minutes, got back on his jet and flew back. He's not...
What a dream.
He just thinks he's going to walk, and he might. He's led the polls this whole time. I actually think Republican voters will not like that he didn't come to this debate because...
Well, he couldn't come to this debate.
No, he could. He could absolutely come.
How?
He's not in jail, babe. He's not in jail. They're not it's like being arraigned. He's on bond. It's going to be fine. He could absolutely be there. He's not
going to spend a night in jail.
No, not,
Sorry,
maybe
I just wanted to taste this.
That's fine. It's pretty good. Here's the problem.
It's pretty good.
So okay, 25% of people are going to vote for him no matter what. So quit trying to get that base. You're not going to get him ever until Donald Trump is I don't even think if Donald Trump died tomorrow, these people would be gettable. I think they would just not vote in the primary. That's what I really think would probably happen. So if that's the case, then you got to try to go for that 75% of, roughly of the people that are convincible. So start with why you're running and why you think Trump shouldn't be president. And that could be any reason. It could be that you're like me and you hate him. I don't think that works as well as saying, look, he lost.
That could be me and you hate him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd be a very good candidate because I would just say what I felt all the time, and that doesn't generally go. Although I think people are attracted to that. I really do think people want someone who's genuine, and which is why I think
I do think the on stage tonight, one takeaway from the debate in general.
Who do you think was most genuine?
Well, I think the people that stood out were very genuine, and I'm not saying they have a chance. And again, I will again say I am ignorant, so.
But just tell me who you like, because that matters in this case, I think.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I think she did great.
Scott.
Yeah.
Chris Christie.
Yeah.
I liked Asa.
Yeah.
I liked that Doug guy. God bless him.
Yeah, I mean, I
didn't say, but I mean, like, he was, but I do say he was more talking about, what is he?
The governor of North Dakota?
Oh, I was like, he'd make a good governor. He really cares about his state.
Yeah, but North Dakota, I think you understand, like North Dakota, it's got to be one of the smallest populations. I'm not saying, look, I think governor experience is more important to be president than being like a senator or something like that.
Yeah.
I do think that experience of being an executive matters. I think that you don't have to learn on the job. I think we've seen that with Barack Obama. I think we saw that with Donald Trump, who had no political experience before that. I think that senators think that they will just like ease into that. But being a senator and being the president are really different jobs. They're just totally different. And I do think governors make better. I think he needs to get out. Just get out. Doug, Asa. I like Asa, but get out. I think everyone.
But I like Grandpa Asa.
I know.
And his young name.
But these 8 people on stage are splitting the vote of those 75% people and letting that 25% become a plurality that can win Donald Trump the nomination.
And like in the beginning, I was like, Mike Pence, and I wouldn't not vote for Mike if he ended up being the nominee.
If he's the nominee, I would absolutely vote for him.
I would vote for him because
I would vote for any of these people.
I do respect. I'm sorry. If there's a TV on, like,
I'll turn it off. If you can't.
Like, I know. I mean, like, my best friends, they know this about me. If there is a TV
I'm
on,
the ADHD one, and I'm managing to not pay attention to it.
If there is a TV on, it's just really hard.
Okay,
for me.
the TV is now off.
Okay, it's off.
We can now.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay,
it's past my bedtime.
Okay, here's a good question for you.
It is 10:24.
I know you're gonna make it. Just a couple more questions.
Okay, so my takeaway. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm keeping you up past your bedtime.
Derailed.
I think
some of us wake up at 6 a.m. Blake.
I wake up at 6:45 too.
Okay, but I would say that I would vote for Mike. I very much respect him. I do think he has.
You're saying if he was the nominee.
If he was the nominee, yes.
But is there anyone on this stage that you wouldn't over Joe Biden?
No.
I mean, I would vote for Vivek over Joe Biden right now because I think he's.
I don't know.
I think his brain is working.
Yes,
I don't think he'd be good. I don't think he'd be good at the job, but I think he'd be better than Joe.
He's so young, like me.
Here's what I think.
Born in the same year. He is handsome.
Yeah.
I like the words he's saying.
I do too. And I think that there's some of that, like, I think the president's job partially, unfortunately, has become.
And I do like he is a minority.
Yeah, I'm fine with all of that. I don't really care about that stuff, honestly. I mean,
but I
that's
am
fine.
saying that, like, for our country, like, I do think that is something important to, especially like our generation and younger. I mean, I know it's important to people older than us too, but I'm saying that, like, seeing more representation, a woman, someone of a minority, especially someone who's like a first generation American, I'm like, that's really cool. Like, that is like the embodiment of like the American dream. It's like your parents immigrated here.
Yep.
You came from nothing. You're self-made. You work hard. You care deeply about this country. And like, that's cool. Like,
and I like that about
really
him
cool.
and Tim Scott. I think they both have that story. I think.
Yes, same thing with Tim Scott. He obviously isn't.
And Nikki too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great things. But Tim and Nikki and Chris Christie definitely seemed like the least rehearsed and the most adult people in the room.
I agree with that. And I think that if I had to get, I mean, like, let's just go through them really quick. Let's just like left to right. Okay. So Asa, my opinion would be that like he had all the right answers. I actually think he would be good at the job.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a prayer, and so he should get out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's going to do anything that's going to get him above the like 1%.
But we wish him the best.
Right. But I just think that like, what's the goal here? If the goal is for Trump to not be the Republican nominee.
Well, and I do like that he wasn't just like, but I'll stand by him.
Right. I appreciate that.
I highly respected that about him.
I do too. But I think that I'd be fine with him being the nominee. Like I think that'd be great.
I'd love it.
I just don't think he has a chance. But I think he performed well. I think that he did a good job. I unfortunately think that there's nothing he could do tonight that's going to drastically improve his polling numbers. And I could be wrong about that. Obviously, I'm wrong about most of my political.
Unfortunately, Vivek just took up a bunch of time.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest problem. Is that essentially what happened? Is that. He just sucked all the air out of it because he was fighting with everyone and everyone was fighting with him. And that's why I don't want him in this race.
Yeah, so he's just very distracting.
And he's basically Trump's PR guy. I mean, he's like his press secretary.
He's very distracting and he's very,
To say that, I mean, I just cannot get over the fact that he said Donald Trump's the best president of my lifetime.
I know, I can't get over that.
But you're running against him. Why are you running against him then?
I don't like that.
And so, so anyway, that's Asa. I think he needs to get out. Christie, I love him being in this race. I don't think he has a chance, but I think he should stay in until it's obvious that he's sucking oxygen from someone else that could beat Trump.
Yes.
Now, that might be him. I don't think it's probably going to be him, but I think people...
Yeah, I like that he's no nonsense. I like his like prosecuting background where he's not...
He's got good experience. I think he'd actually be a good president, but...
Yeah.
I don't think he has a chance because he's going so hard against Trump. Although I think every point he made is absolutely valid in that like we should demand better from the presidency.
And to like respect and uphold the office more, because like basically I think it's just been like a downgrade of lowering the water table here.
Well, yeah, and here's the real thing is that like there's this excuse making in the Republican Party where it's like, okay, when we had the chance to impeach Trump, senators were like, well, we should leave it up to the criminal justice system to see if he did something illegal. First of all, that's not what impeachment is. We as voters and Congress are supposed to be holding people accountable to some standards that aren't necessarily legal lines that you have to cross for something to be illegal. And I think Trump, without a doubt, crossed those lines. The fact that he didn't stop January 6th when he could have, that he encouraged it, the fact that he's lied about the election being stolen from him over and over and over again to the point of criminal prosecution. There is zero evidence whatsoever that he won the 2020 election. Zero. Everything they brought, every court case they brought, they've lost. And now he's attacking the criminal justice system. I just think there's some things that the founding fathers thought that we as voters would hold more dear, and one of them would be that we would not elect someone that behaves like that. But that is not the case now. So impeachment, they're like, well, we'll just pass it along to criminal justice. But now that like federal and state prosecutors are going after Trump, they're like, this is a witch hunt. This is weaponization of the DOJ. Okay, so we can't prosecute for crimes. We're not allowed to impeach him, and we don't trust that he actually lost the 2020 election. So you're saying voters don't have a way to get rid of Trump, the criminal justice system doesn't have a way to get rid of Trump, and Congress doesn't have a way to get rid of Trump. They're basically just saying he can do whatever he wants, and they're moving the goalpost all the time. And I like that Asa and Chris Christie are saying no, like we should be better than this. Like we should not have to deal with someone with this low of morals. He spends more time attacking Republicans than he does attacking Democrats and Joe Biden and stuff. He spends more time attacking these guys on stage than he does Joe Biden. And that's a problem. So anyway, I like that those guys are in here and telling the truth. I think they need to, one of them has to stick around to keep the rest of these people honest. Because if they weren't on stage, everyone would just kiss Trump's ass, unfortunately. Like that's what would happen because no one else on this stage.
Say that word.
I can say whatever I want. I mean, I don't, it's,
It's fine.
Anyway, so let's go. Next is Pence.
Okay, Pence.
What do you think about Pence?
Like I said, I respect him in a lot of ways, especially January 6th. I think he did his job. He upheld the Constitution.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things got a little too politician-y with the way he talks. And
yeah, he's really rehearsed and stuff.
Really rehearsed. So I don't love that. But, I think that I would be curious to know if like that's more our generation versus like our parents' generation. If they like that because that's kind of what maybe the standard has been before. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know.
I think you're right.
Know. It's not like I've, been like a critiquer of politicians.
No, and I think you're right about that.
But I'm saying that I'm wondering because, like, I don't know, he's older.
He's a traditional Republican politician.
Yes,
And
that's what I'm trying to say. How old is Mike Pence?
I don't know.
70 something?
Oh, I don't think he's that old. No.
60?
I bet he's in his 60s.
Like late 60s.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I think Pence has to get out of the race. You can't.
But I do think he's a little too closely tied.
That's the problem.
To Trump. And I think if people are wanting something other than Trump, then like, why would they pick Mike Pence?
Well, and
besides the fact that he basically, I think January 6th, like, definitely redeems a lot of like that kind of stuff for him. Not that like, he did anything like,
But he basically enables everything for 4 years and then stands up at the last minute, which he did the right thing on January 6th.
Yeah, he did the right thing, for sure.
But I heard someone put it as like, what did they say? It was the Trump administration was wonderful until the moment it was an enemy of the state. It's like he's trying to have it both ways. He keeps saying, like, look at all these wonderful things we did.
Yeah.
And I just think that he can't.
Yeah, and you can see that too. So
who in that 100% of the Republican base? He's not getting Trump's people. Trump's people hate him. He's probably not even getting the people that are like for Trump right now, but are on the fence of like, I would vote for someone else because
they don't want.
If you don't kind of like Trump, you might not like his VP. And if you like him enough that you think Pence was wrong for what he did on January 6th or what he's done after, I just don't think he has a chance.
Hardcore Trumpers don't like Pence, right?
I think he's got it. Yeah, no, not at all. That's why he was getting booed. So I think Pence has got to go. I think right now, Pence should not be in this race anymore. I just think that he's got to go. I think that he's sucking some life out of someone else that has a better chance.
Yeah. So then,
that's my opinion.
Was it Pence, and then it was?
Then it's DeSantis.
Oh, DeSantis.
I honestly think DeSantis has run such a bad campaign so far, and I really didn't.
Because McKenzie is not on his campaign.
I would love to talk to McKenzie about this again. I think he's flailing. He's got a lower polling rate right now than he did before he entered the race. I just think that I don't think he's the guy, and I think he should. If his polls keep slipping, because basically what's happened is like, Ramaswamy's kind of taken the spot of him. Like Ramaswamy's been moving up and DeSantis has been moving down. They're basically in second and third place, but kind of neck and neck, but they're like 30 points behind Trump.
Who's in first place?
Trump.
Oh, Trump.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
like, why?
It's okay. So I think this is probably unpopular unless everyone coalesced behind DeSantis. I think he should get out. I don't think he's had a good rate. I don't think he's running out of money. He's having to fire. Sorry, I'm like now burping from all the. Gosh.
Professional.
So professional. Shouldn't have had the old fashioned. But anyway.
Did old fashions make you burp?
I guess so. I don't know.
Or was it the tortellini?
It could be the tortellini we had for dinner. I just don't think he's. Everyone thought he was the savior of the Republican Party because of the just absolute annihilation in his reelection campaign. They won by 19 points. That's a huge win. I think at that point, he could have been the right person. I think he should have gotten in the race then. I think that maybe he would have had the momentum of that. waiting for 8 months after that, I think, I guess it's 6 months, whatever, to get into the race. I think too much had happened since then.
Well, and I think he's done a good job in Florida. And I think he was like a standout kind of person through COVID and all of that stuff.
But he's trying too much to be Trump. And I think he's turning off the people that are gettable. And we'll see what happens after. Yeah. We'll see if the polls change after this debate. But I really think DeSantis should just get out. I think he's done a pretty bad campaign so far. I think most people don't like the roboticness of his. He didn't answer a lot of the questions tonight.
Yeah, he's kind of robotic. As far as like people, I'm like, yeah, I feel like you're genuine.
I think in a one-on-one debate, or like if we didn't have a crowd here, and you just let two people go back and forth, I think he'd be great at that. Actually,
yeah,
but. He didn't answer the questions. I know most people don't care about that.
Let's give these people some grace. I would be horrible up there, but it's also not my job.
It's not your job.
So it's fine. Okay, so next, Vivek. He was, he was coming out hot, literally and figuratively. He's a handsome guy. I like that he's young. There's a lot of things that I really like. There's a lot of things I'm like, yes, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree with that. But he's just too combative. And like you said, like he's totally Trump's PR guy. And I think the comment again, like I'll agree with you about Trump being the best president in the 21st century. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't agree with that at all.
Well, I think he said his lifetime. I'm going to have to go back and look at that. I thought he said his lifetime.
I thought he said which is the 21st century our whole lifetime?
No, 21st century is just since the year 2000.
Oh.
Okay,
it's my bedtime.
Okay, couple more people. Here's my opinion on Vivek. I think Vivek should. I like some of the stuff he says. I'm all for a young, especially minority,
I think it's awesome.
Potentially invigorating younger people to be Republicans. Like, I'm fine with that.
I love that.
Part of the reason I have this podcast and started this thing is because I felt like there's not a lot of conservative media and stuff that represents like my views on policy and stuff. And
of a younger generation.
Not even just younger. I mean, honestly, a bunch of my stuff is older. It's not an old young thing. It's just like, there's got to be principles. There's got to be policies that we believe in. I don't think he has any of that. I think that him saying he wants to eliminate all of those government agencies is something I generally agree with. I don't think most of those should exist. But you have to have an actual plan. You can't just say...
Get rid of everything and then have zero
You can't just say
plan.
Get rid of the FBI and then not have a plan for how are you going to enforce federal laws. And he doesn't. So he's all talk and he's saying all the things that do make people go, I agree with that. But to me, he's got no follow through. Anyone can say that stuff that he's saying. Now, not as well as he's saying, because he's very good at the media. Good at it. Very good at talking. You're right. He looks the part. His smile is the best smile on the stage.
That has to be a $10,000 smile right there.
I mean, maybe. So,
he's definitely had Invisalign.
Yep, I would assume so. I just think that he's got to. So I'm on the fence about does he get out or not. I don't like that he's basically just Trump's PR guy right now.
Yeah, no, I don't
wish
like that.
If he went after Trump, I'd be fine with him being in the race. I still don't think he'd be a good president. I don't think that some 38-year-old guy that's never had any experience in government. I mean, we've tried this before. We tried it with Barack Obama, who I don't think was a good president. I know people disagree with me on that, but I think his inexperience was a problem. I think that and I'm talking about with the nuts and bolts of being the president. I think that made him bad at dealing with foreign policy. I think it made him bad at like dealing with domestic policy. I just don't think he played politics very well because he hadn't done it for long enough to know what he's doing. And Trump certainly was not good at it, having zero experience. I don't like the experiment of having no experience and coming in and being the president of the United States. You can run for Congress, Vivek. You can run for Senate. That's fine. I just don't think he can be the president. But I'm on the fence about being like, get out, because I do feel like he is attracting people that don't like Trump necessarily, which is why...
Even though he loves Trump, apparently.
Which I think is foolish, because I would love to see... I think if he went...
But do you think he actually likes Trump?
I have no idea. Because I don't think he's being real. I think
it's like hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Anyway,
let's move on.
Okay,
Vivek, he had enough of our time. And Nikki, I like Nikki.
I like Nikki too.
I like Nikki. She's very smart.
I hope that she actually had a little bump tonight because I think that
she's very smart.
Thus far, she's not done a great job at campaigning. I think she should do better at differentiating herself and her experience from the people on stage.
But she showed that tonight. Like
her going after Vivek was awesome.
She's extremely intelligent. She knows what she's talking about. She seems very level-headed. Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about it. I very much respect her and her husband's service. Like, that's a very commendable way to spend your time and your effort in your life.
And let's talk about practicality of like, look, this is at the end of the days, it's X's and O's. You know, this is like politics. This is like you've got to win votes. The people that Trump lost, specifically suburban women, like by the ton. They all don't like him.
Because he's a creep.
Right. And women are smart enough to see that. And there's a bunch of dumb men that are just like this Trump thing. They're bad. They're women like it too.
No,
don't get me wrong.
Yeah, totally.
But, like he lost suburban women in droves. Okay. You've got to get that back.
Whatever. All of our families know. I voted for Trump. Wait, did I vote?
You did not vote. In 2016, you didn't vote for either one of them.
Okay, I didn't vote in 2016.
You voted just not for president, and in 2020 you voted for Joe Biden because you didn't like Trump that much. But my point is, you are exactly the person that the Republican Party needs to get back.
I did not like. Now I'm still a Republican. I still am very much hold conservative.
But you're not going to vote for Trump if he's the nominee.
I'm not going to vote for Trump if he is the nominee. I will not vote for Joe Biden. I learned my lesson.
But would you get excited about Nikki Haley? I think you would.
No, I would get extremely excited about Nikki Haley. I just wouldn't vote for the president then.
But you would if Nikki Haley was the nominee.
No,
right?
I'm saying if Trump was the nominee, I would not vote again because I just I can't. And I also know I'm like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, everybody should vote. But
sometimes not voting is saying something.
In our state specifically, it doesn't really matter. So,
but the point is, I like that you're excited about Nikki Haley because I think that other women will be too.
No, I'm very excited about her. She seemed extremely smart.
I think she did well tonight.
Capable. She did well. Like especially when like all the men were just like, like she's like, alrighty, like let's talk about
she had that
stuff.
Line ready, but it was good.
Hey, but it was a good line.
It was a good line. I'm not saying it wasn't a good line. I'm just
really
saying
line.
She had that one ready for when they started squabbling.
I would
Smart.
too.
Yeah.
I would too.
I think she did good. Tim Scott, I would have liked to hear more from.
Yes,
honestly.
I would have liked to hear more from him, but I really like him. I really sorry, I keep doing that. That's annoying.
I think he's refreshing
he's very refreshing. I really and I like his backstory. I think he brings a really unique perspective.
Yeah.
I think he represents a lot of the country in a big way, and that is meaningful, and I think that's good.
And let's be honest, if you're on the right and your favorite thing to do is owning the libs, let's just say that's your favorite thing to do, is you think everything should be performative and you think everything's about making the other side. Well, it just means like
I can
liberal tears, all this stuff.
Ponder what that means.
What would be better than having a black nominee for Republican?
Well, they would somehow be really ugly and say really horrible things.
They already are.
Same thing if it was Nikki Haley and it was a woman. But same thing, they would find something with
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Vivek.
Yeah.
I can remember his last name.
And by the way, Nikki Haley is also minority too. So she's So here's the point.
She's a minority because she's a woman?
No, and she's Indian.
Oh, she's Indian.
Half,
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, like the point is that like nothing would be better than being like
Native American.
No, Indian, other kind.
Oh, like from India.
Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Her dad or something. I might be wrong about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she's Indian American. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you say Indian, and especially we live in Oklahoma.
Well, yeah. That's normally what we go to.
Native American.
Yeah, because we say Indian most of the time here, not Native American. And because look, you can judge us all you want, but we've got more Native American people here than most of the other states. So, the thing about any of the three of them being the nominee would be to see the hypocrisy of like the left trying to, because the left is going to call any Republican racist. And they'll try to do that to Tim Scott too, or to Nikki Haley, or to Vivek Ramaswamy. And it's hilarious to me.
Funny.
Yeah.
Because they've had people on their side who have pretended to be a minority.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
to be a woman.
Well, specifically the minority thing with
But the minority
Elizabeth
thing.
Warren.
Yes.
I mean, like...
No, or I'm talking about the lady who said she was black and she's not.
Oh, yeah, but that wasn't a politician. Elizabeth Warren got a job
Who
at
was that
Harvard
lady?
as a minority. Well, that was just like, she was like some...
Oh, I thought she was a politician.
No, I mean,
Who
she
is
was
that
like,
lady?
she worked for the NAACP, but like, she wasn't black.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad to pretend you're black. I think that's a bad move. But like, Elizabeth Warren essentially pretended to be Native American, but like...
Is she not?
No, I mean, I have like 8 times the Native American heritage that she does, and
she's as Native American as I am.
No, she's not even that much. I mean, I think she was
I'm
like
not
1,
Native
2000.
American. I'm not even a little bit American.
You probably have a little bit more than she does, because she has none. I mean...
I was like, I don't think I have any Native
anyway,
American.
the point is, like... They would try to find a way. So, I mean, I would love the idea of any of the 3 of them just because I think it would be funny. To see.
And so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
But, if we want to call it out, the right does the same thing to the left in different ways. For
Look,
sure.
there is ridiculousness on both sides.
Yes.
I'm just saying that specifically with all the cries of racism right now, it'd be interesting to see what they would do.
Yes,
And they already
definitely.
do this. They call him Uncle Tom and all sorts of racist stuff. Like as if a
What's
black
Uncle
person.
Tom mean?
It's like, I mean, it's essentially saying he's like loyal to white people and shouldn't be. It's like as if a black person can't make up their mind about if they want to be conservative or not.
Is it that racist?
Yes, I would say so. I think assuming black people need to be Democrats is racist, but
Shouldn't people just, be independent thinkers and come to their own conclusions?
I think that makes sense to me,
Okay.
but not to a lot of
All
people.
right, I was just wondering.
I wondered. I'm curious to see if he gets any kind of bump after this. I don't know if he got enough stage time to really.
I know,
I do think
that
every
is-
answer he had was good. Though.
No, it was really good, and I
refreshing.
wish Ramaswamy wouldn't have dominated so much. Really, Ramaswamy, Pence, and
And to be fair, just so you know, this stage setup that we're looking at is from the middle out the people with the biggest support so far. So, I mean, the purpose was to get, really Ramaswamy and DeSantis were going to get more time simply with the fact that like they are closer to Donald Trump than the rest of the field is. So it's kind of fair. Like Doug, I mean, no one knows who he is. So Doug's got to get out. So to me, the people that need to get out.
Okay, so Nikki Haley, Tim Scott. Okay.
To me, I think Vivek, Nikki, Tim Scott, and DeSantis should be the only people left. Well, I don't know. Chris Christie has sort of a purpose. If I could have the perfect like next debate, would be just Christie, Ramaswamy. Even though I don't like him, I'd rather him be out. I think he is bringing a freshness and bringing up some ideas that, if nothing else, Nikki Haley gets to go after him and look good. Like, I think that's fine. Like, he can serve that purpose. But I would basically want to see Christie, Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott. That's who I want at the next debate. I don't even really want Pence there anymore just because I think Pence is just not going to...
He's too close. I mean...
He's not gaining any people, and I think everything he says...
Hopefully my dad won't be too mad at me
That's
about
okay.
that.
Everything he says isn't that much different than what anyone else is saying on stage.
Yeah,
And so I that's kind of where I'm at. I would really like to just see the field narrow to be that, to me, in my opinion.
Go live your retirement, Pence. Enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens after this. We'll see if there's any poll changes. I don't think Trump's going to get away with just avoiding debates and not campaigning. I think that he made fun of Joe Biden for campaigning from his basement, and now he's essentially kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's doing the same thing.
I think he thinks he just has it locked up, and I think that will foment to be resentment.
I think his ego is gonna be the bane of him.
We have real problems. I think everyone recognizes the real problems.
And real problems that affect everybody, conservative or liberal. Like this post-pandemic era right now, I'm like, everybody is affected. Everybody is affected by the inflation. Everybody is affected by like just talking about trying to buy a house.
And he's not talking about any of that
car,
stuff.
Like, I mean, we bought a car this, like, in the past year.
For
and
like $6,000 over sticker.
So much money. And so I'm like, okay, that's crazy. And like, you know, even in the city we live in, that is a great city to live in.
Fairly low cost of living, yes.
Yes. I'm like, in the past 4 years since we've built our house, like, I'm like, we wouldn't
be able to buy our house now.
We couldn't buy our house now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy.
That's like real.
So like, it's like, come be my neighbor. But I'm like, you have to have a lot of money to do it. So it's just, things have changed rapidly in the past 4 years.
Yeah. And I think that people want solutions. And I think even the most, maybe not that 20-25% of the Trump supporters that just support him no matter what, but I think even people that voted for him in 2016 and 2020 would say, I'm kind of tired of him just relitigating the 2020 election.
Yeah, I don't want that.
That's all he seems to care about.
Yeah.
And so, to me, the only goal is to get rid of Trump. To me, that's it. That's like priority number one is anyone on this stage other than him needs to be the nominee, mostly because I don't trust Trump to be the president again. But like take that one step back, and even if you kind of did, he's not going to win. I mean, unless Joe Biden keels over and dies or falls and hits his head or something like that.
It's a sad place that we're in as a country.
But my point is,
Joe Biden, who cannot put a sentence together.
His no comment thing with Hawaii was the worst. This is a guy that's been a politician for longer than you and I have been alive.
That's crazy. And he said no comment, and he's on a freaking beach.
Everyone.
You
would know what to say. You say you're bad at politics, and you wouldn't be good at doing this. If someone was like, put a microphone in your face, how do you feel about the Maui wildfires? You'd be like, it's so terrible.
That's
I just
awful.
can't even imagine what's going on.
I'm enjoying the beach right now. I'm so glad it's not burning. Like, there's just so many. I'm like, why go to the beach right then, man?
But to me, that's the biggest proof that he is not okay mentally. Is that like every other politician, everyone on the stage, everyone in Congress, every governor would have had the ability
to be like, hey, that sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, would have the ability to go.
Because it's not his fault. It's a wildfire. But I'm saying, like,
right.
I mean, like, you know.
Right, because he could have been like, it's terrible.
Yes.
It's absolutely terrible. We've got FEMA heading there. We've got all this stuff. And we're going to give them everything they need. And
you could just say what's already happening.
Or you could just say, it's terrible. It's a tragedy. And I'm here to support them in any way I can.
Thoughts and prayers.
Whatever you want to do. But no comment. He didn't ask about Hunter's laptop. You don't have to give a no comment. It's literally just like, we're just looking for some empathy. And
from the president of the United States, and whose state this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you and look, there's a lot of stuff. I don't think the president should show up at every natural disaster because it's just silly. What can he really do about a wildfire?
He can't do anything.
But he can answer a question.
He's not a superhero.
Yeah, but he can answer a question.
Yeah, but I mean, to that point, did he have lots of thoughts and prayers and lots of things to say about Ukraine that's not even in his country?
Well,
so I mean, I'm just saying, like, the sentiment as far as, like, I get that there's policy things, but like from an average American person, if you see the leader of our country saying,
well, the average person won't see that because the media is not covering it very well.
But I'm just
comment in that situation.
Well, but I'm just saying that the average person like me is going to see, like, he cares so deeply about the Ukraine, and I'm not saying you shouldn't care about that. I think yes, we should care about that. But you should care about the crap going on in your own country. Whether, I mean, it's a natural thing or not.
But my point is that I don't think it's proof that he doesn't care. I think it's proof that his mental faculties are not there enough to know that no comment is the wrong answer for that.
It's the wrong answer.
I actually don't even think he understood the question that was asked him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's...
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so to me, that's a huge problem. So I'm like, Joe Biden, I do, like, no matter what, I do not want Trump or Biden to be the next president of the United States because I don't think either one of them are capable or mentally, morally, however you want to break it down. I don't think either one of them can be the president in 2024. I think Biden's too old. I think he's missed a lot of steps. I think he also has been really bad at being the president, even if he wasn't missing the steps. I think there's been a lot of bad policy and stuff. So my goal is to for neither one of them to be the president, which means one of these people has to win the Republican nomination and then beat Joe Biden. I think any of these people could beat Joe Biden. I really do. I think that 70% of the country doesn't want Trump or Biden. Should be pretty easy if you put someone up against Biden that's not Donald Trump. I think if it even looks like Trump is slipping at all in the next, whether it's in the polls in the next several months or he loses a few primary states and pretty quickly someone becomes the like front runner, I think you'll see the Democratic Party turn on Biden and demand that someone else be the nominee. I think. Is
there anyone else?
Well, I mean, there's always talks of lots of people. I don't think it's Kamala. Okay. It could be Gavin Newsom. It could be, people say Pete Buttigieg. People say...
I don't know who that is, but I know who Gavin Newsom is.
Here's the point. If Democrats are smart, they shouldn't put up Joe Biden.
Okay, again.
Yeah.
I'm the dumbest person in the room here.
That's not true. Just about politics, you are you read less than I do. That doesn't mean you're dumb. It's not what that means.
But, so do the Democrats not have, is that how that works? Because a Democrat is the president. There's not other people.
Yeah, normally an incumbent president is not going to get primaried in their party.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Okay, but that comes later.
Well, no, he's being challenged right now by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Marianne Williamson. Neither of which have a chance of actually getting the nomination. They're both lunatics. They're just actual lunatics. They don't have the 80-year-old reason for not having their faculties. They're just actually conspiracy theory nonsense.
I've heard about...
they're both kooks. I don't really want to spend any time talking about them because they're kooks. They shouldn't be.
We'll talk about this later.
The point is, the Democratic Party is not going to have debates. They're not going to let them even have a chance of sniffing the nomination. But... because right now, I mean, the truth is, I think Joe Biden and Democrats want Trump to be the nominee. Honestly.
Yeah, probably.
Because he's beatable. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And it's fun to attack him. The media makes a lot of money off of when Trump's in the mess of this whole stuff. So that's a problem to me. But to me, if it looks at all like Trump might not be the nominee, I think you'll see that shift, especially with the Hunter Biden stuff, because I think that there's enough there with that, which I realize is very complicated to follow because there's a lot of stuff. But I mean,
did Hunter put the cocaine in the White House?
Most likely, yes, actually.
Is that for real?
I mean, it's kind of complicated.
No, I know.
Yeah,
we don't have to get into the weeds.
It was in an area that's secure. It was not in a popular area, which means it's either a high-level staffer or a family member. And Hunter was living at the White House at the time, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that timeline lines up correctly. Here's the problem with Hunter, specifically with the business stuff. First, Joe Biden was like, I never knew anything. I was not involved in it at all. And then it's like, well, then we find out that you knew that he was trading on your name with these people. And then he was like, yeah, well, I never was involved in it. Well, then we find out you had at least 20 phone calls with these people that were giving Hunter Biden money.
Phone calls?
And then he's like, well, we were just talking about the weather and stuff. And it's like, okay, so Hunter's selling access to the vice president of the United States, giving him access by you being on the phone. And then so basically everything that Biden says ends up being true or proven that it's not true. It's a lie. I don't think we're that far away from potentially seeing that he either got money or knew about money or even if it was just that he was okay with it, even if Biden never took a dime, but he was doing this so that his son would have money, his interest is still being met in that situation because he wants the well-being of his son. I think that's still corrupt. And I just wonder I get it. It's tragic that he lost a wife and a kid and another kid. And that all sucks.
He lost 2 kids.
He lost a wife and a kid in a car wreck a long time ago. And then Beau Biden, his other son, died of cancer in 2014.
Oh, not in war.
No, although he keeps saying that he died in the Iraq War. He did not die.
But Beau was in the military.
Yes, yeah.
But he died.
He did not die in Iraq, though. He died of cancer.
He died of cancer.
So
he's lost 2 children.
2 kids and a wife.
And a wife.
Yeah, so that's all tragic.
Awful.
It's awful. No one should have to go through that. And I get that he's now trying to keep his one remaining son who has a lot of demons alive.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it okay if you knew he was accepting bribes from the Chinese government, or you were talking to these people, or if you facilitated any of that stuff. And to me, just the drip, drip, drip of that stuff, I think eventually Democrats, if they think that might, you don't want an October surprise, which is what they call, any kind of big campaign revelation that comes out. The October surprise in 2016 was like the Hillary Clinton email stuff and James Comey coming out and being like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're reopening this investigation. And it always happens. Well, you don't want that to be that, like, we've got a recording of Joe Biden talking to some guy that's a Chinese government official about moving money around. I think they'll bail on him if they get a sniff that Trump's not going to be the nominee. So I would love to see that happen, because I'd really like to see a normal Democrat that's not 80 years old and losing his mind, and someone other than Trump, any of these other people other than Trump. I would love to see that, because right now, 70% of the country doesn't want Trump or Biden. Like, that's polling says that. But when it comes down to it, those people are going to sort into the camp that's closest to what they feel like, and they're going to pick the lesser of two evils when it comes to 2024 if those are the two nominees. Just like it happened in 2020, just like it happened in 2016. Honestly, the only reason Trump won is because Hillary was so disliked and such a bad candidate. She was basically the least liked person in the country to be president, and Trump was the second least. But that's all you got to be. You just got to be the least liked person. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
And I don't know that this debate changed a lot, other than I do think Nikki's stock went up. I think that DeSantis did a good enough job, but
it's a little robotic for me. But
no, he's robotic. But I mean, he did a pretty good job as far as like what he needed to do. He didn't.
Yeah, and
he talked about his record, which he does have a decent record.
He has a good record, and he has stood out over the past few years with the pandemic.
Yeah, but I think his problem is that he should have gone all in on, look what I did. I fought everyone in the pandemic and lockdowns. Instead, he's gone all in on the woke stuff, which is just all online right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's foolish, because there's not a huge electorate there. That's not independents. That's not like Republicans that aren't on Twitter. And I think he's paying way too much attention to those people.
I am online some, but not as much. But like, there are things that happen, and I'm like, that's a thing,
right? And they're not really
paying attention to enough.
Yeah,
like my Instagram or Facebook feed is not full of politics stuff.
Right.
Mine is mostly kids, cooking and funny stuff.
Yeah. So he's not.
That's all I care about.
He's turning you off.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to.
Or you at least just don't care about some of that stuff.
I don't. I mean, whatever.
He didn't talk about almost any of that stuff tonight, which I think was smart. But I just wonder if I just don't know if he has enough gas in the tank to like get over the hurdle of the fact that he's been dipping in the polls. I just don't think he did anything tonight that's going to like raise him up. I think Nikki did. I think maybe Tim Scott did a little bit. I think Vivek did, actually. I mean, other than obviously I know more about policy. I know when he's just BSing. I know when he's just saying words that sound pretty but don't mean anything.
He did sound.
A lot of people won't, though. And so I do think his stock's going to go up. My prediction would be, after this, we'll see polls this week. My prediction would be, and I'll probably be totally wrong about this, so I'll call out when I'm wrong. I think Vivek's polling will go up. I think Nikki's will go up. I think DeSantis's might go down. I don't think he did all right, but I don't think I'm trying to think of who he won over tonight.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did. So, I mean, that would be my opinion. And then, like I said, I think Asa and
I don't know. I thought Chris Christie was pretty good, and I liked the way he
might have gone up. Yeah, he might have gone up.
Honestly, the way he was like, all right, Vivek, I do think, putting him in his place in some ways was, I think he was good.
Yeah, I think so too. So I
don't know what other people think about that, but I do think Vivek is a little, like I said, he came out of the gate hot, literally and physically. Physically.
Oh my God. You're very attracted to this guy.
He's a cute guy.
Okay, I mean, I would have. Okay.
But he's also the youngest guy there.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're not going for any of the 6-year-olds.
No other men up there who I'm like, oh yeah, he's cute. But that is not the point of the president.
It's not.
It's not a beauty contest.
It's not. Okay,
but yeah, I just think that he was a little. Yeah, it's like what you're saying. He just said like pretty words, and he was out there and very like. I don't know, tenacious, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that it's just interesting that he's attacking everyone on stage, but not the front runner.
But not Donald Trump.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
That just seems like, well, brown.
That's why he seems like Donald Trump's press secretary. And honestly, that's the only reason I think that I would like to see him out of it. I like the energy he brings. I like that he's bringing some young people interested in like, you're right, that is how I feel. And like, and some of the stuff he's saying is very conservative.
Yeah, no,
I believe that he's conservative. I just don't believe everything else. So that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see if anyone else feels the way I do feel. But I don't know when the next debate is, but we'll see if anything changes by then. Maybe we'll do the next one together.
Maybe.
And she'll never come on this podcast again.
That's not true. Just maybe not this late at night. It's
okay.
11.
It's 11
p.m.
All right. Okay. We're ending this thing. All right.
It's nice to meet you.
Oh my gosh.